Hello everybody, I'm Nick, and a few days ago I saw this post on Reddit asking, is using the var keyword in C# okay? And I want to make a video about this topic because in all of my years in .NET and C#, this has been one of the most debated topics ever when it came to code reviews or team standards or company standards, or even in posts like this or blogs or on Twitter or everywhere. People are asking, is using var okay? And some people love it, they use it everywhere. Some people hate it, they don't use it anywhere. And some are in the middle. So in this video, I want to talk about my opinion on the subject. I want to see what people think because this post has 300 and something comments. So as you can see, people are very passionate about it. Let's go straight into the video. If you like our content and you want to see more, make sure you subscribe. For more training, check out my courses on dometrain.com. So this post on Reddit is pretty self-explanatory. Is using var okay? Asking because my team requires explicit types, meaning when you specify a type, you can't use var, you have to use the full name of the type instead. However, Resharper always tries and switches to var. In fact, you're gonna get these 4 dots under the type and it's going to say, hey, use var instead. And that's why this user is used to using var instead of the full type. Now, just to very quickly see in code what I'm talking about before we go into more of the comments in there, let's say I have a user over here and I have a user by using a new user type. Well, as you can see, I have the var keyword, but I can also use the explicit type. However, as you can see, Rider here, which is using the same engine as Resharper, is saying use a var instead for simple types. So I can say use var and I can do that. Now we have a few variations because of how the latest versions of C# work and we're gonna see them. But let's take a look at what the comments are saying in that Reddit post. And the first one is very interesting, and it's that Microsoft says to use var when the right side of the statement, i.e. what's after the equals, I guess, gives away the type. So otherwise use explicit types. For example, let's go back to our code. As you can see here, this is a new user. You can see what the user is. It's very obvious. So you don't have to explicitly define it twice because we have it here. Why would you have it here? And though it happens to be that user is a short name, but what if it was customer? What if it was customer service, customer factory? It can be a longer name. Why would we duplicate things within a single line of code? Let's just prevent it and not use it. Now, this could be something longer. For example, we can have a user service, which I can create over here, and then I can say user service dot create user. Now, the thing with this approach is that create user can return anything. We don't know what it returns. Is it a void? Does it return a boolean, whether it was successfully created or not? Does it return a one-off, like a result type? If it was success, we get okay. If it was failure, we get failed. Does it return the user itself, the user created? And is it nullable? Is it not nullable? We don't really know. In this case, this create user method is a boolean, so it returns true if it was created, false if it wasn't. So you'd have to say created or was created. And then with that name, maybe you don't need to specify that var is a boolean because was created implies a boolean state. But I can see how many people would say, no, use bool to make it explicit because I cannot tell what this is. This wasn't does customer exist, whether you can say exists, and then it's more obvious to have a var. It was create user, so it could be anything. And in that case, I agree, it can be a bit weird to just use a var. Now, I would use var anyway because I like the var keyword and I can understand code that uses the var keyword and how people write code, especially within a team where you have standards in the team to write code roughly in the same patterns. But I can also see the other side saying, no, this is not something that works for me. I have to have the bool explicitly defined here. Now, before I move on, I'd like to let you know that we just launched a brand new course on DomeTrain called Getting Started with Microservice Architecture. And that course is authored by AWS Solution Architect James Eastham. It will teach you everything you need to know to get started with microservices the right way by someone who works for freaking AWS. Like, That's all they do. They know a thing or two, to say the least, and I'm so happy to have him author this course on DOM train, because it is just fantastic and it's going to set the right foundation for all of you. So to celebrate the launch of that course, check the link in the description and use code MICRO20 to claim a 20% discount. This is only valid for the first 500 of you, and those 500 of you will also get a special 40% discount later when the deep dive is out. This is a really unique opportunity, so please don't miss it. Now back to the video. Now back to the post, let's take a look at one of the replies. Agreed, examples where I wouldn't use var. Staff could be an object or a collection, as staff can mean all employees. So what is it? Is it a single item? Is it a collection? Why are you using var here? The var result, process payment details, no clue what the result is. It's sort of the same thing as the create customer point I showed you in the code. Then you get var temp get data, do not commit this code. And then var details, you have many things happening in a single line of code. No idea what type is behind all this. Now, there's some things I don't necessarily agree with here. For example, in this case, for me, it doesn't matter if it's a single item or many items. I can just write the code and the following code will show me what it is. I don't need to have the explicit type there to understand it's a collection or not. Are you looping around it? Do you have a dot count? Are you just... that you will understand through context, and when you're writing it, you know what it is, so I don't really get it. Or var result, I really don't need to know what type result is. It's probably some payment result or some result type of any kind. And again, the context will explain what it is. Now, I agree here, this doesn't really make much sense. And I agree that, yeah, the var details part is problematic, but I don't think that this is the problem. I think what's on the statement is the problem. This side of the code is doing too much. So I don't necessarily agree with that reply, but I agree partially with some of the things mentioned here. Now, there's another point here that's very, very valid by Sigigs, and is I'm a convert to var after spending a lot of time doing TypeScript, which is compare this to this. And that's exactly where I stand. The code ends up looking cleaner and more straightforward by using var, and I really, really don't need to know every explicit type on the left-hand side to do my job. If something is not obvious at all, of course, I want to know. But in this case, it has to also add value to the code I'm writing. I don't want to just to have it there just to have it there. It has to mean something. If the immediate context validates the type, then I don't need to use var, in my opinion. Then another very funny reply is, let's have a 4-hour company-wide meeting to discuss this. Obviously, sarcasm, but I've seen this, so it hurts. And then the next comment that I personally really like, and I think is very interesting, is that I like the new syntax. What is the new syntax? Well, now since C# some version, you don't have to use the var keyword. You can use the explicit type here, and then you can shorthand the new side of things. So you can remove the new whatever, and you can go back to having the type on the left, which I agree is, in my opinion, the best of both worlds, because you immediately know the type, then you read the name, so the name reflects the type, and you can see and you can judge a well-named type by its type immediately without just reading var, and then it could be anything, and you can have the new keyword here. The alternative would be, or all the alternatives would be, of course, the long version, so you can have this, or the short version, where you can have just var over here. As you can see, this approach is the shortest. And to be honest, I really, really like this approach a lot. In fact, when I can use it, I do use it. And I do use it because it's also very consistent with how you would have parameters, like class level parameters in your classes. So if I had a class over here, my class, and I had a private read-only user service, obviously I cannot use var over here. So if I had something like this is very long, I could just delete this, and I can't do the opposite, obviously. So it feels more consistent to go with this approach that allows me to just use the new class declaration and just have the code be more consistent and smaller. I really, really like this. And now with the new collection expressions as well, we can also have the following. Let's say you have a game queue where you have a queue for a game. Yes, you can have a new game queue, or you can have var here, or you can have this approach of making a new type here, or because this is a collection, you can have the collection expression, which is even shorter. So this you couldn't have with the var keyword, and I really like that this new approach actually allows you to do that, and all the features just building on top of each other. So I think where I stand is that nowadays I'm moving more and more towards this approach where the type is explicit, where I can have it explicit, and when I can use the new keyword over here to create a type without the type being there. But of course, if we want to use a method of some other type, or you have something like a new customer, or is it customer? No, it is user factory, and then that has its own methods. Let's say that this is a static class actually and creates a user. Well, obviously that is a user, so I don't need to specify the user type here. I can just omit it because, well, it's a user factory creating users. Even if this name wasn't create user and was just create, I would know that this is creating a user because this is named as user and I can read. So basically use your brain is what I'm trying to say. But I really appreciate this approach of not using var and using the type when I can use it. Obviously I can't use it everywhere, but where I can use it, I will use it. But now I want to know from you, please leave a comment down below and let me know, where do you stand in this, and what is your favorite approach? Do you use var? Do you not use var? Do you use this declaration approach? Leave a comment down below and let me know, and let's have a healthy discussion down in the comments. Well, that's all I had for you for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, keep coding.